They were little nudges from the universe saying, wake up. Why are you not seeing this? I'm seeing this. The universe is seeing this. And then it was like, I always say the universe is protecting you from things that you can't see. So I got removed. They didn't get removed. I got removed from a situation that I was supposed to protect myself in, and I didn't. So I was being protected. And that's how I think about it. Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coming Up for Air with myself, Lou. I hope we're all okay. I have just literally this minute sat down. I'm actually recording this on the day I'm releasing it because I have had such a manic week. So it's actually 6:45 in the morning, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to get up, I'm going to have a really productive day, and I'm going to record. And so here I am. Sorry, it's 6:45 in the morning, not 6:45. Here I am sat recording my podcast on the day. So I thought about what I wanted to do with my catch up this week, because last weekend, it's not that I didn't do anything last weekend. I just hadn't got any plans, and I had a full weekend where I was at home enjoying the sunshine, enjoying my family. It's so funny, I think I've spoken about this before. My parents' house, for some reason, we call it the mothership, and for some reason we all turn up at the same time without telling each other that we're going there. So I rocked up at my mum's house on Saturday and saw my brother-in-law's car there, and then my sister rocked up with my nephew, and then my other sister rocked up. So, I mean, I always say that I'm just going to have like a chilled out weekend, but they don't tend to stay chilled out weekends. My best friend was busy. So me and a couple of my other friends were just like, you know, the weather's nice on Saturday, so let's go sit in a beer garden. And I was just kind of like catching up with all of my social media stuff and trying to make sense of like where I want to go next with it, because I've changed my content on Instagram. I said this last week. I've changed my content on Instagram, and my Instagram, I think I've gone from 16,000 to 20,000 followers, which is wild, because I've not had growth like this since I posted my Heartbreak to Half Marathon reel. And I think I went from like 6,000 followers to like 10,000 followers. And I have sat here week on week on week on week slating Instagram. Well, not slating Instagram, that's wrong, but like saying that it's like so hard to grow on Instagram. It's not. You just need to find your voice. And I hadn't realised how much I had put out there, like running wise. And I'm obviously still quite passionate about running, but I think what I post on TikTok, I'm more passionate about. So I think that's come through my content now, and I hopefully, fingers crossed, I am reaching the right audience. And I think it's kind of like now showing with my views and my growth. And I always say it's not about followers. I want to make sure that I am reaching the right target audience, and I think now I'm doing that, and I'm following more people and following more people that I can engage with, and Instagram loves engagement. However, I've had quite a few messages from people asking how I've grown and how I've built my social media accounts. So I know there is so many people out there teaching on growing on social media and creating a presence online. And I think it's quite popular to want to do that these days. I'm going to be real and say that my TikTok took me a year. It took me one whole year of being patient, knowing when to post, learning the algorithm, and I've got 200,000 followers. My Instagram isn't like that. My Instagram was started in 2021. I had to find my feet. I had to learn about posting, and I have grown over 4 years. But I don't know whether there could be a little niche for me to kind of teach on what I've learned in the last 4 years, what I've learned in the last 6 months on Instagram, what I've learned on TikTok. So I'd love to know all of your thoughts on whether that would be something you'd be interested in me talking on or creating something, because I feel like I have pretty much nailed both algorithms now. Touch wood. They change all the time. I always say to my dad, like, I'm trying to keep up with the algorithm on TikTok and on Instagram, and I'm fighting for my life. Sometimes I can post something on TikTok and it gets 5,000 views, which is great. But sometimes I can post something and I can go back in an hour and it's got 15,000 views. And I think the trick on TikTok is consistency. But I definitely think there is not a skill around it, but there is definitely a way of growing. And so if you think that would be something useful to you, if you are interested in creating a presence online, then let me know, because I would be more than happy to like throw something together and teach on it, basically, because I see loads of people teaching on it. But I think it's all well and good when people are teaching on it and saying like, just do this and just do that. Sometimes that doesn't work, and I've found little hacks and tricks that actually do work. So yeah, that was my thoughts on that. Anyway, I also wanted to tell you about what I've been doing with my mornings, because I thought about, like I said, I thought about the catch up and I thought, what can I talk about? And then I thought, actually, I'm going to share what I've been doing, because this might inspire you to do the same. And also, I've tried and tested it for 5 days. And these are my findings, basically. So I have never jumped on the 10,000 steps a day thing, ever. I remember reading something during COVID, and I don't know if it was from like Pete Wicks or somebody, and they were like, you need to do 10,000 steps a day because that's how you see a benefit. And then I remember reading something about, I think I Googled it, and I remember reading something about it literally just being a fad and that you didn't need to do 10,000 steps a day. And I think I have shared this on my Instagram before, and they say that between 5,000 and 8,000 steps is more than enough. Anyway, I was like, why 10,000? That's just a figure that, you know, someone's plucked out of thin air. So I thought, I'm going to see how easy, because you see it everywhere and you hear people talking about it. Like, I did 10,000 steps yesterday, or I've got to get my 10,000 steps in a day. One of my friends does it all the time. She's like, no, I'm out, I'm getting my 10,000 steps in. Now, I have a job where I sit down at the computers all the time, at computer screens all the time. I don't move around a lot. I work at home. So my real only form of exercise and the way that I get my steps in is pretty much to go out on an intentional walk, an intentional run. However, I was really interested to see how many steps Google deemed was 10,000 and how many miles I had to walk, because I thought, I'm not going out there and just saying, you know, I need to walk 7 miles in order to get 10,000 steps in. That might be overkill. So Google said to me that 5 miles is roughly around 10,000 steps. Great. So I thought, how am I going to break this down? I don't want to get out on a 5-mile walk. It's long, it's boring and time consuming. So I've split it down to a 3-mile and a 2-mile walk a day. And I'm getting out and walking 3 miles in the morning. That roughly gives me around 6,500 steps. And then I'm doing 2 miles in the evening, or whatever time I have, I'm just splitting it across. But I'm splitting it out basically. And so far, I feel like it hasn't really impacted my day. I feel like it's not something where I'm like, oh, I need to go out and do that. Today, obviously, is Friday, and everybody knows that I usually go out on a Friday. Instead of driving to the pub and leaving my car there, I am actually going to walk today. I have done 3 miles already this morning, so that's that ticked off. But I feel like the earlier you get up, obviously, the more time you have. I've been getting up and getting out at like 6, half 6-ish. So it doesn't feel like it's massively encroaching on my day. Obviously, I have to manage my time myself. And I didn't want it to be a thing where I was like, oh, I'll just do it at 9, or I'll just do it at 10, or I'll just do it at 11. I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted it to be something where I was like intentionally getting up and like factoring it into my day. Do I feel better from it after 5 days? Yes, I do. I do feel better. Do I think there is a difference? Yes. I feel like I have more energy in the day. I feel like my runs are getting a little bit easier. Obviously, I'm trying to build my fitness back up from having 7 weeks out because of my shin splints. But I do feel like it is making a difference, and that's irritating because I've never jumped on this hype. I've always thought, yes, I know walking's really good for you, but I've always thought like, why 10,000? Like, that's just stupid. That's just people just saying like plucking a figure out of thin air. So I'm going to keep you updated with that. And like I said, if you want to like join along, I'm also doing the 21 days, Emily, I can't pronounce her last name, on Aloe Moves, the 21 bar sculpt series, where she basically has a series of half an hour classes a day, along with 10,000 steps a day. I think I'm going to see a little bit of like a difference in my body. I'm a bridesmaid in August for my best friend. No, I'm not. September. Honestly, I keep getting the dates of her wedding wrong. If I get them wrong again, she's going to kill me. I nearly booked the flights on the wrong day. Honestly, don't even go there. I've just been a nightmare with it. But I'm maid of honour in September. I'm going to Sicily, and she has chosen what could only be described as the tightest figure-hugging dress she could get me in, that is satin and it's peach coloured. And so it basically shows everything off. And so I've basically got until September to feel good in that dress. And I'm a firm believer in that. I feel like you have to be comfortable in your own skin, which I am. And I'm happy with how I look when I wake up in the morning. And, you know, I'm happy with all of that. I think if you have an event, I don't think it's like bad to think, oh, I want to look good in that dress. So yeah, she's on like a bride diet at the moment. The other day she was like, I had a fruit salad, 2 eggs and a steak all day. I was like, I don't even want to know what you're doing. I don't feel like I need to aggressively diet. I do feel like I want to just tone up. So the 10,000 steps, the 21 days bar sculpt classes, fingers crossed, are going to give me the body that I feel confident in my maid of honour's dress for September. But we're not going to go mad. I feel like if I see a huge difference in maybe 2 weeks with doing 10,000 steps a day, I am probably going to try and keep it up. But I always think that like life gets in the way and stuff. And like easily today I was thinking, God, I'm busy right up until like pretty much 5:30 today. And my friend wants to meet at 6. How on earth am I going to be able to get my extra 2 miles in? And then I thought I could just suck it up and walk to the pub, which I don't really do. I leave my car there. And so I'm going to do that. Obviously, when I lived in my old house, I think I say this a lot. When I lived in my old house, I lived a 5-minute walk from where we go drinking on a Friday. So it was a little bit different. Now I probably live a good 1.5 miles away. So fingers crossed it will get my 10,000 steps in and I'll hit my 10,000 step count today. But I just wanted to share that with you because I think some people follow me on my running account, some people follow me on here, some people just follow me on YouTube, some people just follow me on Spotify and stuff. And I think it's good to share like healthy habits. And like I said, do I feel like it's made a difference? Yes, it has. It's made me feel more productive, and I'm always finding ways to tell you how to make yourself feel better within yourself, but also to find things that are maybe going to encourage you to like build a better morning routine or, you know, wake up and actually feel good about yourself. And I think the head clearing exercise that you can do out on a walk, and the 2 miles usually takes me half an hour. The 3 miles takes me about 45-50 minutes. And this morning I'm listening to Mel Robbins' new book. So this morning I've been able to not only just get in, 6,000 steps, I've listened to a book. I've taken something away from it. I used to listen to my podcasts, not my podcast, but I used to listen to my favorite podcasts when I was going through like the thick of my breakup, just to feel like I was talking to somebody. Hence the reason why obviously I created these. But, you can get out, you can listen to my podcast in the morning and you can start your day feeling maybe more positive about a situation that you've been feeling pretty rough about, and you're getting your steps in whilst you're doing it. It's productive. And I know I'm talking to people as well that have different circumstances, but even if you wanted to get 5,000 steps in a day, I've just told you that 3 miles takes me half an hour and that gives me 6,000 steps. And so yeah, I just wanted to share that. And also for everybody that does work in an office environment, I remember when I worked at the demolition firm, I used to always say to one of the girls that I worked there, like, let's go on our lunch for like a walk and clear our heads. And she thought I was insane, but eventually we started doing it and we started doing it more regularly. And it is healthy. It's a healthier way of clearing your head and setting yourself up for the day. So I just wanted to share that with you, because like I said, always wanting to share healthy habits with you. I also just wanted to take the opportunity to say that I have posted an episode on social media and your mindset post breakup on my Patreon this week. I have had so many people listen to that and so many nice messages, because I think people talk around the practical things of social media, but not actually the mindset of like how to switch your mindset and how to like deal with the fact that maybe your ex is posting more on social media. Maybe, you're seeing more photos, or you're feeling the pressure to post on social media, and that's not a nice place to be. And so I wanted to do an episode on that. So that went live on Wednesday. So if you do want to go and listen to that, it's $4.50 a month. The link is in every single bio of every description of these videos. You cannot miss it. It's on the link on my bio of my TikTok and my Instagram. If you just follow the link to Patreon, it will take you there. You can sign up, pledge your $4.50, and you can go and listen to so much additional content over there. I post 2 episodes a week, or a longer episode a week. So effectively you're getting 2 lots of me a week, which I don't think is that bad if you're finding these podcasts useful. I also am more responsive over there. Like I always say, I can message back to you a lot quicker, and I will always take the time to read your messages, read through them, digest them, and think about the advice that I would give you. I'm always honest. If I feel like I can't give you any advice, I would say so over there as well. So come over, have a little listen, have a little chat with me. I think all of my inboxes are up to date now. I've spent the week, like when I've had spare time, just going through my inboxes and replying to people's messages. Hopefully they're all up to date as well. Anyway, I don't know whether she's a new follower or she's found me on Instagram and been listening to my podcast. I can't actually remember what she said to me, but I've had someone reach out to me literally this week. And I usually plan all my podcast episodes for the month, and I know exactly what I'm saying and talking about. So throughout the months, I can contribute to them myself, and if something happens I can add. And I get to think about the topics all the time, and I'll be in the shower and I'll think, oh, that's really something really good to say on my podcast. However, this week I've had a message from somebody, one of the girls on my Instagram. Like I said, I don't know whether she's new or whether she's just reached out recently, but she's asked me if I've got an episode on the fear of being single forever. And I think in a roundabout way I pretty much talk about things around that topic in a lot of my episodes, but I don't think I've ever done an episode on that. And I thought, what a great episode. Like that is going to be so useful for people, because I completely understood where she was coming from with it. I understood how she was saying that like she had a fear of being single forever, because I think I did as well. And I just wanted to talk on that. I've split it down into sections as to what I want to talk about. And so hopefully it'll be like quite a methodic episode to listen to. You can take things away. I'm going to talk about mindset. I'm going to talk about how I dealt with it. I'm going to talk about how I'm dealing with it now, because everybody knows that I'm a single girl. But there are a few things that I have realised that I actually want to say on this topic. So hopefully this will be a really good, informative episode. And just a little shout out to, she knows who she is, because I messaged her this morning saying, I just want to let you know that by tonight there will be an episode that you can get your teeth into. And she said that she's going to listen to it on her run. So I hope your run's going well, and thank you for the inspiration. I always listen to everybody's messages, always reply, no matter how long it takes me to reply. And if anybody has got a suggestion where I know that I can talk on a topic, then I will do. But this one just kind of spoke to me this week, and I felt like I needed to do it like now, today. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. Like I said, there's going to be lots of information, some personal experiences of mine. I'll share how I felt as well, and I'll just be referring to my notes that I've put up, because I then brainstormed after she messaged me about how I'd want this episode to flow, and how I basically have to put myself in my listener's shoes. And that is easy because I've been there, which is why I think talking for an hour every week is quite easy for me, because I think I went through 2.5 years of hell. There is so much I can talk on. And sometimes now I'm like further on in my healing journey, I do forget what I went through. And I do forget that gut-wrenching fear of I'm never going to find anybody, that goes away the more you heal. So it's nice sometimes to talk to people and connect, because then I get inspiration from my episodes, and it means that my listeners are getting the most out of my episodes as well. So hopefully this will be a good one. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So I obviously talk about knowing your emotions, naming your emotions, and understanding your emotions. And I think I'm going to start with the fact that yes, this is a fear of being single. And it is a fear of being single, that you can feel it, like fear is horrible. However, I genuinely think it is a number of things. I think it is the fact that, the fear of being rejected again, the fear of, the fact that someone that you thought loved you has been able to hurt you. I feel like it is a fear of a number of things. And I also think that the pain comes from the fact that, like I always say, that you're mourning a life you have planned, especially if you have been the one that has been left, because I obviously talk about unloving somebody and having to actually physically feel like I was teaching myself not to love somebody, because just because he's told me that he didn't love me, just because he did a number of things to hurt me, didn't mean that I didn't love him. So I think that, yes, it's the fear of being single, but I do think it's a fear that is masked with a lot of other things that you are thinking about. And I think I got caught up in thinking that was my only chance, especially because I had half my life in this relationship and 14 years in this relationship. And because I believed in my relationship so much, I believed in my relationship, I believed in us so much. I believed that we were end game, and that we were so strong, and that no one was ever going to come between us. I think that's why I then really struggled, because it was I'm never going to find that connection again with somebody. And actually that was the thought that consumed me. It wasn't the fear of being single, because I know, you will know that being able to find somebody, being able, going on dating apps, going out, being able to find somebody is really quite easy these days. However, it's the connection. Am I ever going to find this love again? Am I ever going to look at somebody and feel the same way as how I felt about my ex? And I think I struggled with the fact that because I loved him so much, and I don't know where this whole narrative of being embarrassed to say that about your ex, I don't get it. People look at me gone out sometimes and they're like, how can you say that? And I'm like, because I did. I loved him so much, and I loved him so much after the breakup as well. And so a lot of my fear came from the fact that I wasn't going to find that connection again. I think it was a fear of being single for definite. But the fear is not being single, because I've done a whole episode on dating apps and how accessible it is to be able to find somebody. You could find somebody if you went out. You could, if you wanted to, go and find somebody. My fear was that I was never going to have the connection that I had with him ever again, because we had built it up for 14 years. And my fear came from the fact that I knew that I didn't have another 14 years to build a connection because of my age and what I want to achieve. And so that's what frightened me the most. And I never understood where the narrative of you can't say nice things about your ex after you split up. And, and I share a lot of things. I share a lot of more over on my Patreon about the stuff that me and my ex went through and the things that I had to kind of battle with. But I would still never take away from the fact that, he's hardworking. He's got a very good work ethic. He's attractive. And I never understood where that whole oh my God, she's still saying her ex is attractive. Where's that narrative come from? Of course he is. I'd never take that away. Is he somebody deep down that I'd want to date now? No. I'm allowed to say that. He put me through hell. But there's still going to be that connection, especially if you spend half your life with somebody, especially if you've got children with them. There's going to be that connection. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's there. However, that was where my fear came from. And when I thought about doing this episode, I thought, yeah, it wasn't the fear of being single. It was the fear of finding that connection with somebody else. Because like I said, it's very easy to go out and just be able to jump into another relationship. You've probably experienced it. I've seen it happen. Like people just getting into another relationship and being like, hey, do you know what? I need to be in a relationship because society says so. And that is where I think a lot of the fear has come from. We are conditioned from society to think that like we're a failure if we're single. And I've done a lot of episodes on being single and the fact that you should shift your mindset on the fact that your relationship has broken down doesn't mean you failed. It isn't a failure. Being single isn't a failure. You have been dealt a shit hand of cards, and this is your time to be able to actually look inward instead of outward. And it wasn't about the absence of the love that we shared for each other. It was like the opportunities that we had as well. So like I obviously lived in a nice house because we had a 2-income household. I lived in a house that I dreamed about having because we had a 2-income household. We had nice cars because we had a 2-income household. We went on nice holidays because we all had a 2-income household. And people, again, will say, well, it's not all about that. But it's the opportunities to be able to live a comfortable life because we had 2 salaries coming in. And it was the opportunity to be able to say, like, I'm getting married, like I'm having a wedding. And when you've got somebody in your life, there are so many more opportunities. You open yourself up to so many opportunities because you've got somebody standing by you and standing next to you, holding your hand and saying, let's do this together. And my ex always used to say to me whenever we used to like come into like a roadblock in our life or a bump or something that we needed to get through or get over together, he used to look at me dead in the eyes and say, like, we're a team, like we get through this together. I remember coming out of university with a hell of a lot of debt, my credit card debt that I talk really openly about. I remember him saying to me, we're a team, like, it's something that we have to deal with together because we're in a relationship and we're a team. And yes, it's the fear of being single, but also the fear of having to do things by yourself. And I will sit here and openly communicate to you guys that I've had so many sleepless nights since losing my job because I have a house to run on my own. I have a car to run on my own. I have, for example, the wedding in Sicily to fork out for. Like, going it alone is quite hard. And I would have never have experienced that if I didn't go through my breakup, obviously. And I don't know whether that would have had a massive effect or a massive impact on my life, but the fact that I have now realised that the fear wasn't being single, it's a fear of a number of things that now if I look back and if I went back and told 2022 Lou that actually the fear of not finding a nice house because I hadn't got a 2-income household was something that I didn't have to worry about. I absolutely love my house. I'm obsessed with it. And that I still would be able to go on holidays and stuff because I'm here, there and everywhere all the time. And now when I look at it, I think, God, I wish somebody was actually there saying to me, like, break down that fear. Is it the fear of being single, or is it the fear of like not being able to have those opportunities temporarily? Because like I've said, it is easy to find somebody and you will find somebody. But this part of my life is temporary. This part of my life of doing things alone and going it alone is temporary because I know in my heart that I will find somebody. However, is that the fear? Is the fear of it that you're never going to find that connection with somebody ever again? And I've obviously been honest and said that I want to keep my relationship side of my life private for the time being. But I have met people where I have formed a instant connection with, like a instant connection, even on a friends level where I've like instantly been connected to somebody. And like, my ex now, if you said to my ex, who does she spend the most time with? He wouldn't know, because one of my closest friends that I have now, who I genuinely can't imagine my life without, I was not friends with her when I was in a relationship. I talk about her when people say, people get sent somebody that's going to, heal their heart. I was sad because I read that everywhere, and it was like the person that comes and heals your heart whilst you're healing will be the person that you're with forever. I then opened my eyes a little bit wider into what the universe was saying, and I truly honestly believe that the universe sent Isabel to me when I needed her. And she knows all of this, and she'll hate the fact that I'm talking about it because she's just not that way inclined. But I formed a friendship connection with her that is for life. And yes, you can argue that like it's not a relationship connection, but like these are all the little things that are going to help you process certain feelings, like the fear of being single, instead of actually being like, okay, I'm single, but I'm creating friendships and relationships with people that are new, that are going to bring so much into my life that the fear of single goes away. I never have to worry about being alone at the weekends because I've got so many different friends in so many different places that I have made post breakup, that the whole fear of being single goes away because I've got so many things that I could do with so many different people and so many different hobbies and interests, and we're all so different, and I experienced so many new things, and I have got so many different opportunities. No, I haven't got, the opportunity to get married next year. No, I haven't got the opportunity to go on like a couple's holiday next year because I haven't got a relationship. But I have so many different opportunities that I could go and explore and go and see, and people to go and visit, that the whole fear of being single is taken away. And I think it's definitely down to being able to open your eyes to actually what the universe is sending into your life and what it is taking away and how that is supposed to teach you. And I genuinely do think that if someone like that is taken out of your life, they are taken out of your life for a reason. If somebody who you genuinely were so besotted with, and like I always say, I don't shy away from how much I loved my ex, if the universe can take them out of your life and say, you are going to get through this, you are strong enough to get through this, but you need to do some time, you need to heal by yourself first, then listen. Because the self-love and the healing that I have gone through in the last 2 years has been astronomical. It's been so eye-opening that everything now that I do, I move with intention. And people say to me, like, are you going to do that? No. Why? Because it's not contributing to my life. Or why are you working till 11 o'clock at night? Because I want to, because I'm moving with intention, because I have a clear plan of how my future is going to look. And that is probably going to change next year if I get a little bit more comfortable with the fact that, I might want to welcome somebody into my life full time next year. And that might change again, but I am still only ever going to move with intention. And the only way that I have actually managed to understand that is understanding that, yes, I was absolutely terrified of being single, but it was so much deeper than that. And you have to understand that, and you have to get to grips with that. I also just will say now that the people that I have met, and when you say, oh, I've been single for 2 years, and people go, God, no relationship whatsoever. Yeah, like no relationship, but like I've been seeing people, or like I've spent time with people. Your relationship status doesn't define you. People that you will meet after your breakup, they will not be bothered about the fact that you've been single for so many years, because you can back it up by saying, I learned how to sit alone. I learned how to sit in stillness. I learned how to heal. I learned how to grow. That defines you as a person, not your relationship status. No one's going to turn around, that you meet, and if they do, then they're not the person for you. But no one's going to turn around and go, God, you've been single for 2 years. You must have red flags. No, you can turn around and say to them, but I wanted to be able to sit on my own. And I think I tell a story quite early on in my podcast episodes when my ex went to go get his teeth done in Turkey. I genuinely hated being in that house on my own. I hated sleeping on my own. I hated eating dinner on my own. I hated shutting the front door and being like, oh my God, I'm completely in this house by myself. And yet now I don't even think twice about turning off my light. This is random, but I sleep with my bedroom door open, and people think that that is insane. My sister will say to me, that is just psychotic behaviour. I sleep with my bedroom door open, and sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, do you remember that time? We'll sit there and I'll reflect, and I'm like, do you remember that time when your ex went to Turkey and I could not bear being in the house by myself? I don't know who I'm going to meet. You don't know who you're going to meet. You could meet the love of your life, you could form a connection with somebody instantly, and they could have a job that takes them out of the UK. They could have a job that takes them away in the week. Like, I know now that all of the things that I have learned, yes, I've learned to be on my own, but that doesn't mean that like I've learned to be on my own, so I'm going to sit and be alone forever. I've learned to be on my own. So if the universe says, hey, this guy is coming into your life and he is going to treat you with the most love and the most respect, but he works away 5 days a week, so you're only going to see him on 2, and you know, he's going to make sure that you never feel like you're alone, but you are going to have to live by yourself for X amount of days of the week or X amount of days of the month. You are secure in knowing that you can do that and that this is something that is worth pursuing because you aren't scared of being by yourself. I hated it when my ex worked away. I absolutely hated it. And like I said, whenever he went away and went on holiday or stayed away for the night, I absolutely hated it. And he must have got sick of me like ringing him and saying like, I don't want to be on my own. Like, I'm scared, I'm worried, I don't like it. And I know that I tell a story about when my parents went to Australia and I was FaceTiming them at 2 a.m. because I thought there was somebody in the garden. I used to be awful, like absolutely awful. And that is probably one of the biggest things that I have learned from being by myself, is that I can be on my own. And I now look back and I reflect on the person that I was in 2022 and I think, oh my God, like she had every right to be scared and every right to fear being single. However, she has no idea how much she is going to grow to love it. And then also how much it is going to define her strength and her character. And these are the things that you need to take away from this episode. The second thing I want to talk about, just touch on, is that the fear is also deep rooted again when you are looking around or being told and seeing that your ex has moved on and your ex is in a new relationship, and it can make you feel completely discarded, and it can make you feel like the one that is being punished. It can make you feel like the one that, you know, you're never going to find somebody like him ever again. And it's so hard to describe the feeling of when you are laying in bed and that gut-wrenching, heart-aching feeling of, I am never going to find somebody like this ever again, and they've been able to move on. And the thing here is, the reason why it hurts so much is because you are seeing them form a new connection whilst you are still in love or loving them. And that's why I always say there is nothing wrong with that. It's more normal to be so heartbroken over somebody that, you know, might have proposed, that you were married to, that you had children with. That is more normal behavior than being able to completely switch off, disregard your feelings and jump into something else. And I always say, and it is a hill that I'm willing to die on, that behavior terrifies me and it will always terrify me. And I was talking in my Patreon episode this week about social media and how being able to see everything on social media, and if I got into a relationship with somebody that had been in a long-term relationship, I wouldn't then parade my relationship all over social media with their ex. I just wouldn't. And then when I re-listened to it back, uploaded it, I thought, I don't know why I said that, because there is no way that I would get into a relationship with somebody who was a year out of being in a relationship with somebody, married to somebody, or had children with somebody. It's a massive red flag. That behavior really terrifies me. And I know that people can argue that when they find the love of their lives, fine, but the actual behavior itself I find really scary. And I might be closing myself off to, you know, universe sending me somebody who could be the love of my life. But if they have just got out of a relationship, and I say just, I mean if they say I've been single for a year but I was engaged and was with somebody for 10 years, I would be like, you need to be by yourself like a little bit longer. It would terrify me. I think being able to cut somebody out of your life that you loved, or you said that you loved, or at one point in your life you knew you were going to spend the rest of your life with this person, I think that behavior terrifies me. And so when I talk about being sad and not being embarrassed about still loving somebody that has moved on, I would encourage you to be honest with yourself and sit in that feeling of it is totally okay to still love this person even though they're in a relationship, because that again defines you as a person. You have been able to sit with the feelings that you have got. You've been able to sit with your emotions. You haven't just jumped into a new relationship, masked the guilt, masked everything that you did to like that person and their family. You've not done that. I think that watching your ex get into a new relationship does contribute to your fear of being single. However, it shouldn't, because you cannot relate to them. And I say this a lot. You can't relate to them because you do not have the ability to do that to somebody else. And you don't have to be able to relate to them. So the fact that they're in a new relationship, you do have to kind of like cut that bit off from the fear of being single, and you have to like separate it out. And just because they found a connection so quickly, and this is what you need to take away, it's quickly, not easily. They've not found somebody so easily. And I used to say this all the time, you've been able to form a connection so easily. It's not that, it's quickly. And when you break it down as to the reasons why they've managed to find somebody so quickly, you begin to realize it's because they don't want to sit with what they've done. And so the distraction is there, and they don't have to think about what they've done, because everybody knows, and you will know. And if you're not there yet, but you will understand when you find somebody or you form a connection with somebody, you don't think about your ex as much. You don't, regardless of what people say, you don't think about your ex as much. And I was quite surprised when I formed a connection with somebody about how little my ex came into my head. And that made me realize, oh, that's how he got through certain things, because he already had somebody as a good distraction. And you distract yourself. And so I just wanted to touch on that quickly, because I think healing slowly doesn't mean that you're behind. It means you're being, again, intentional. You're doing the real work. You're processing your feelings. You're growing. You're reflecting. You're learning how to protect yourself. And you cannot compare that to your ex. You cannot compare yourself to your ex. And the number one thing you should be thinking about when you are finding yourself comparing yourself to your ex is that you would never do what they've done to you. And that should stop you. It should stop you in your tracks. It should stop you thinking, oh my God, they've formed a connection with somebody new. Oh my God, they're going on holiday with somebody new. It doesn't matter. You don't have to compare yourself at such surface level things. It's not a who win or loses situation. You don't have to compare yourself like that. The thing that should stop you comparing yourself immediately, without a second thought, you should be thinking, I could never do what they've done. Therefore, that should stop the comparison. And all the surface level things that they're doing, and, you know, getting into a relationship and parading it online and stuff, that shouldn't even come into your comparison. You can't compare yourself to somebody that has that terrifying behavior. And that, like I say all the time, is a hill that I'm willing to die on. And it is something that I feel incredibly passionate about. And I think it is really sad when people have the ability to be able to behave in that sort of way. And it was so funny because my therapist once said to me, let them go fast. Let them go fast. Not let them go fast as in like quickly, like you need to find it quickly to let them go. Let them go fast. You go deep. You connect with yourself. Let them do as much as they want to do in the shortest space of time. You go deep. You find out the reason why you're feeling the certain things that you do, you know? And that alone made me go, yeah, do you know what? I'm actually doing the right thing for me here, and I'm going deep, and it's going to benefit me in the long run. The third thing that I think has helped me with accepting the fear of being single is getting clear on what I actually want in a relationship. And that doesn't mean like what I want in a partner. It's getting clear on your next steps in the dating world. And you might be there now, you might not be, but it's getting clear with the things that you want when you decide to go into the dating world. Because, stay with me on this, when you meet somebody, and I've spoken about this on my Patreon, and you are on dating websites and you're going on a date and you're sat in front of them saying, I don't know what I want in a relationship, or you're sat in front of them saying, I just want a date, and then you actually form a connection with this person, and you've told them, I just want to date, and you're texting them more, and then they're saying to you like, whoa, hold your horses, like you said you just wanted to date, you're then opening yourself up to being rejected again. And then you have created this cycle where somebody is being able to turn around to you and say like, this is not what I wanted. And then all of a sudden you are then back in a situation where it's like, well, they didn't want me, I'm being rejected, I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. Like, you have to spend this time working out what you actually want to do. And the more you heal, you might not be there yet, but the more you heal and the more dates you go on and the more people that you meet, the more you will realize what you actually want. And this is what I have been going through for probably the past year. Do I want to be on these dating apps because I want to date, or do I actually want a relationship? And I have now come down to the fact that I don't want to date just to date, and everybody's opinion on dating is different. You know, people just might want like a hookup, people just might want to just go out for dinner, people might just want to see each other casually. Like, everybody's sort of opinions on dating is different. If you don't want all of that, but you're sitting in front of somebody saying, I just want to date, and then you find yourself getting irritated because they're not doing the dating thing. So they are, you know, they're not texting you back and you want to text back. You're not dating to just date. You're obviously dating because you want to form a connection with somebody. And I think the fear of being single is heightened because then you put yourself in a situation where you are sat in front of somebody and that somebody is saying to you, this isn't what I want. And then all of a sudden you are triggered back into, you know, your ex leaving you. And you have then found yourself in a situation where you're like, nobody wants me. And it's not that at all. It's because you need to get clarity on what you want, and clarity on what like the next steps of finding somebody looks like to you. You're only going to do that if you take your time. You're only going to do that if you put yourself in situations of like dating or saying yes to going on dates. And I don't think there's anything bad with doing that, because you are not waiting for somebody. You are preparing yourself for the next part of your life. I've decided in the last 2 years of me dating that I am a relationship girl, and the next person that I meet will be the person that I say, like, I'm looking for a relationship. I know that I'm going to be able to sit in front of somebody and say, I'm looking for a relationship, because that's what I want. Because I don't want to be in a situation where I'm texting somebody and they're not texting back because we've decided that, you know, it was actually just dating. You have to get clear on what you actually want. And like I said, this might not be something that you can relate to now, but I definitely think it is important going forward as a single person that you get to grips with this. And I wish somebody had said this to me sooner, because I would have understood that the person that I was sitting in front of on a date, when I was saying, you know, oh, you know, you haven't texted me back, and they're saying, oh, we were just dating, I would have avoided that situation. So I'm just going to talk now on one of the loudest, what I think is the loudest contributing fear to the fear of being single, and that is the fact of time. You are not running out of time, and you are not too old to start over. And I feel like I can say this because I'm at that like poignant age of like the 30s. And I obviously went through my breakup when I was 29. I was in a full-blown relationship when I was 28. And then in 26, 25. So I was in a relationship my whole life. I never had to worry about finding somebody, forming a connection. And I feel like the time element just kind of like wraps everything up, because like I was saying, you know, you put pressure on yourself to, and like I was saying, you know, you have fears that you're never going to form the same sort of connection. And because of the time element, and it's like, I'm never going to be able to do this because of this. And obviously talk about being in my 30s and like starting over. And I think it's that age, isn't it? It's like when you turn 21, it's like, oh my God, I'm 21. Then it's 25. And then when I was 25, I was almost submerged into like, this is my life now, and I don't have to worry about anything. And so then I didn't really fear my 30s. And then obviously 29 hit, went through a breakup, celebrated my 30th birthday as a recently single person. And then after that was when I was like, oh my God, I'm 30 and I'm single. I think a lot of my fear came from the fact that like I had got this preconceived opinion of myself because I'd been in a relationship for 14 years. So that meant, I can't possibly form a connection like I used to have with my ex because I haven't got 14 years. And so every single connection I form after that isn't going to be as worthy as the connection I had with my ex. And that is just not the case. And I do so much talking on having time and being secure and being like where the universe wants you to be at this point in your life. And you don't become less worthy of a meaningful connection just because you have less time as such. Just because you might meet somebody. And I think this puts to bed the fear of like outside perspective. So like if you're going to meet somebody and then have a strong connection and then move in with them after 6 months, have a baby after a year, get married after 2, like you think that people are going to be like, oh, but it's probably not going to be anything like her ex. That is not true. You do not become less worthy of a proper connection just because you've done the whole long-term relationship thing. You've come out of the other side and you deem yourself not having time. I have never felt this young. I'm the most healthiest I've ever been. I'm the most set up. I'm the most secure. I have absolutely everything that I feel like I have worked hard for. And I always say the only thing that I would say that I haven't got in my life is a relationship. And that is totally okay because buying a house is hard, making new friends is really hard, keeping yourself afloat when you're on your own one-person income is really hard. All you have to do is trust yourself, trust the fact that the universe is going to bring somebody into your life, have clarity on what you want. You become more of who you are in this time. You shouldn't ever fear finding somebody and being single forever because you have got to know you. And it is not a bad thing to say that you are in love with yourself and that you honor yourself and that you're proud of yourself. I make sure that I'm proud of myself every single day. I have something that I am proud of every single day. It's not big-headed. You're not, going around saying, oh, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. It's you on your own, silently saying to yourself, I'm so frigging proud of you. And I didn't do enough of that going through my breakup. I didn't realize the stuff and the shit that I was dealing with every single day, the emotional battering that I took every single day. I never sat down and thought, I'm so proud of you for making it to the end of this day. I'm so proud of you for being able to, put a smile on your face and go to that event, even though you were dying inside. I never really took time to say that to myself. And the more I got to know myself and the more I loved myself and the more that I created more boundaries to protect myself, the more I realized that doing that would bring so much peace into my life. The more I started saying to myself, do you know what? I am going to find somebody because there is no way I get to plow this much amount of love into me without somebody else having it and appreciating it. And I think it's sad when my ex had to do it, had to admit that they didn't appreciate me and they didn't appreciate you. And I think that's really sad. It's another characteristic that I would hate to have, that I don't appreciate people's time, love, affection, or I didn't know how to appreciate all of that. You do. You're more self-aware. You're more capable of a deep and healthy connection because you've spent time by yourself. And all of these contributing factors go towards eliminating the fear of being single because you're doing the right amount of work and the universe is going to say to you, it's your time and you're ready and I'm going to send this person in, and you're going to go, who? Who is that? And why are they there? And you'll realize that because you've got all your ducks in a row, and I hate that term, it's so corporate. You've got all your ducks in a row now, and you've set out what you want in your life. You've set out what you want in your life. You've set out what you want in your personal life, and you get to enjoy the fact that you are secure. You get to enjoy the fact that you're ready. And I obviously speak on the universe a lot, and I'm a big believer in the universe. And I think that has definitely made sure that I'm more trusting of myself. But Trusting the universe that is working in your favor will make sure that every single time that you feel yourself going into a thought process of like, I'm going to be single forever, or how have they done that, or what is this teaching me, blah, 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 blah. The minute that you think, this is the universe protecting me, I have got so many scenarios where I can think, oh my God, that was the universe protecting me. I can think back on so many situations where I think, oh my God, that was a big, massive sign from the universe of like, Lou, wake up. What are you doing? And you might not feel like this, but I think there was little things throughout my relationship that happened, definitely, where the universe was saying, toughen up, Lou, like you need to start saying more, or are you going to allow that to happen, Lou? And I ignored it every single time, and I shouldn't have done. Now when I look back, I think, oh my God, I should have taken that as a big fat sign. That should have been the wake-up call that I needed. But instead, the universe removed my ex, as if to say, I tried to tell you, you didn't listen, so now we're doing this. And it wasn't like you're going to learn the hard way. You're just going to learn in a way that is going to take you time. Now, if you then apply that and trusting the universe in your single life, I know it can feel like sometimes it feels unfair. I get that. But I now think that I'm being protected from repeating a cycle. I'm being protected from repeating the same things as I did in my old relationship. I learned how to create boundaries. I will never let somebody get away with certain things ever again. Like, that is just not a thing. That I've learned boundaries. I've learned how to create peace in my life. I've learned how to trust myself by trusting the universe. And now everything falling into place is like, oh yeah, I should have probably trusted the universe to begin with. And that is not me saying that like I should have woken up and seen things. And I thought the things that I went through, say like the 6 months before my relationship ended, I thought they were things that we could work through, but they weren't. And sometimes you can think like, why now? Why is the universe doing this now? The universe is never late. It's aligning. So the universe will align with you, it will align with your life, and everything will fall into place at the right time. Every delay, every heartbreak, every relationship that doesn't work, you are being aligned, you are being sent more things for you to say, do you know what? I actually don't like that. Or, do you know what? I actually prefer that. Or, I quite like that in a relationship. Or, I'm not ready for that type of thing. You are being aligned by the universe. It might not feel like it, but trust me, you are. And I truly, fully believe that the universe will always send you something better when you are ready. And someone will meet you where you are, and you'll look up and you'll go, oh my God. I listened to a podcast episode once where Lou said everything's going to align, and now everything's aligning. And it will be something that doesn't confuse you. It will be something where you feel so relaxed and so at peace that you will be like, all my hard work was worth it. And all the patience that I've had and all the trust that I've put into myself, the trust that I've put out there has all been worth it. I hope this episode has helped. I've really enjoyed doing it. Don't forget, my Strongest Version of You course is available online now. If you still want to get it, it's still at the introductory price. So many people have bought it in the last week. I need to catch up and add everybody to the YouTube group to make sure they can access the videos. If you want more content like this, then please head over onto my Patreon. You can sign yourselves up. It's $4.50 a month. We have great chats over there. I really love everybody. I love all my listeners, but I formed proper friendships and connections over on my Patreon. So if you want to, please go and join over on my Patreon. Come and join us over there. If not, guys, I will see you next week in the hour-long episode. And thank you, as always, for following along. And if you have anything you want me to talk on, then please let me know. As always, guys, look after yourself. Bye!